we are. We're about ready to mount the motor on the front of our Avistar. That's the next step. The only problem is the Avistar was actually built for the 35cc OS or 35RA made by DLE. Well, we can't afford that here. You know, that's a pretty expensive thing. So what I do have on hand, well, said we couldn't afford it. It's why buy it when I've already got something that's 35cc. This is an MLD 35cc. It's about $100 cheaper than the DLE or the OS engine. It's the same power, same weight, just an MLD brand. Now, I'll be honest with you, the MLD ignitions are crap. They're not any good. So what I would do is go to rcxl.com and get one of their ignition modules. It's really good. I think they're like 45 bucks to run this. That's what I'm going to do with this one. And what you got to do on the Avistar, they send you 3 of these mounting plates for the gasoline engine. Okay, and it's actually a standoff to help get the engine poking out there, because the engines that they recommend are rear-mounted carbs, just like this one. But the only problem is they send it made for the DLE or the OS engine. They even have the holes marked for you for one of those 2 engines, which are rendered completely useless to me. If you're going to fly the DLE or the OS engine, it's going to work perfect for you. Hats off to you. So the way I overcome that problem, I just so happen to know a guy that's a real good machinist here, real close to me. And I give him one of these wooden plates and told him I needed a standoff to match my MLD engine. And I'll be darned if he didn't make me an aluminum one right there. A better look at it. That's the MLD bolt pattern. And we'll mount this to the firewall, and the bolts will go through here. The aluminum standoffs for the airplane engine will come out here. We're mounted, happy, and we'll be cruising right along. So let's get this puppy mounted up and see what we can do. Okay, what I've done, I've taken the original template that come with, or the standoff that came with the kit. And I lined up our desert aircraft holes like so, and I've just taken my Sharpie, my fine point Sharpie, and traced around it so we know where our MLD adapter will go. So we'll line it up at the top. The important thing is, as long as it's centered, that's the main thing. We'll get that centered, and I'll get my hole marker, come in here and mark where these holes are, and then drill those out to the appropriate size. The bolt diameter that goes through there is 190 thousandths, so I'll probably go with like a number 4 drill bit. It's like a 204 or like a 201 drill bit. All you need is just clearance for the bolts to go through and not bind up. All right, here, let's, there, we have a little better light. So now, what I'll do, I'll get it lined up and get it centered. Now, don't worry about if you have an adapter made, your holes won't line up because it's a MLD, not a DA, DLE, or it won't line up with the marks, I should say. That's kind of scary. So I'll take my marker, my hole marker, holding it still. Just kind of give it a little twist, because remember, we're just marking where the holes need to go. We're not trying to drill through it. And this should line up the center, like so. Like that, and we'll take our standoff off. And then there we have our marks. Right there, there, and I'm going to go ahead and dot those, make them a little easier to see. As we get older, we get a little blinder. So, there, 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 and there. Okay, now we're ready to drill our holes out. I've chosen to go with the 732, which is just a shade bigger than what the actual bolt holes are. That way we have a little bit of room to kind of slop it around a little bit for alignment purposes. So we're going to go ahead and drill this out. Make sure you don't get your finger. And make sure your engine isn't underneath where all the wood shavings are going to go, because you don't need that in your motor. Lined up there. All right. Now we're going to test fit everything. And what we'll do, we'll take our engine, our standoffs, and we'll just mount everything up just kind of as a test fit right now. But it already has, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, it has a coating of protectant on it, like a varnish. But just to be safe, see right here, it's not protected, okay, where they cut it, where everything was laser cut. I don't know if I mentioned before, but this entire ARF has been laser cut for precision fit, and I mean, it's awesome. But we'll test fit everything, make sure all our work is done, and then we'll come back, and what I want to do is put a layer of epoxy over everything. It'll help fuel-proof it. One incident, a fellow club member, he was out flying. He had this really cool Edge 540. He's running I think he's running a big old twin gas engine on it. It's like a 50cc, I think. But I don't think he fuel-proofed it, because he had a real problem. He landed it one day and the whole firewall fell off. And it was because gasoline had eaten into the wood and melted the glue that was in there. So it's even though it's not a nitro airplane, we're still going to go ahead and fuel-proof the firewall front and rear. We'll get everything test fit for the moment. Make sure everything's there, all our woodwork. This is the very reason why we trial fit everything. I'm looking down. Everything looks good and square. I'm coming around the engine. And I look to see where our carburetor is, and our choke's wide open, which is fine. But then I come over here to close it. See the problem we have there? Our choke arm is up against the firewall. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to get my marker, and I'm going to draw around that, as that's a section we're going to have to cut out of the firewall. Now, see, had we already prepped our firewall, we'd have been screwed and had to do it all over again. Now that we have our firewall notched out here, I'm going to mix up some 30-minute epoxy, and I'm going to coat this thing all over, front and back, making sure I get inside the holes and all the cutouts to fuel-proof everything. That way we don't get any kind of wicking action from any kind of spilled fuel or anything. And it does happen. I'm also going to kind of seal over where the monocoat comes over to keep it from having that pull up. Okay, we're installing our ignition tray, and we got the battery velcroed in and foamed on the bottom side and the ignition box on the top side. Now here's the important thing to remember when we're putting this in. Some of you may not know, but our firewall is actually on a little bit of an angle. What that's to do, that's to counter the torque and all that good stuff that the motor generates. It's supposed to be like that. When we go to install this, there is a top and a bottom. If you look at it real close, the leading edge of the tray is on a little bit of an angle to match our firewall. So make sure you have the tray oriented correctly whenever you go to install the tray that holds the ignition box and the battery.